Thank you very much. Yes, welcome to the second day of Nordregio Forum, also on my behalf. From now on, the focus will be on the regions themselves. So, Nordic regions as engines for green transition. Whenever we talk about green transition or bioeconomy in the Nordic region, we very much like to present a map like this to illustrate the fact that actually Nordic region is not one homogeneous group, but there are many different regions with many different issues, and so thus the green transition and bioeconomy, they look different for each region, and thus we should maybe talk about transitions and bioeconomies instead of one Nordic transition or bioeconomy. When you look at the issue of green transition and green growth from the regional level, the picture might be a bit schizophrenic. On the one hand, in the aftermath of the economic crisis, green growth has been branded as something that can really be the solution for the struggling regions. We get a lot of good news, for instance, in terms of European bioeconomy, when we discussed jobs and euros. The Nordic countries are already doing really well. We have really good solutions we can market globally. But then at the same time, for instance, some very prominent sociologists of our time say that we have severe flaws in the way we think about green growth. We hear about the illusion of green growth, which is also a relevant thing to discuss. It is a good question whether our sort of existence can still be based on the idea of growth. However, our approach is quite practical. While it's a good thing to discuss these issues and questions, we also need actions in the regions because of the sense of urgency that the climate change poses for us. What I will tell you a bit later in my slides is very much based on Nordregio's research on green growth in the Nordic regions during the past 4 years, but it's also based on our dialogue with the regions and regional actors and practitioners in the Nordic region. So what we have done, in 2016 we had a nice roadshow. We toured some of the most prominent green regions in the Nordics and sat down with the regional policymakers, practitioners and businesses and asked them what do they think about the green transition, where do they see the biggest challenges and opportunities. We managed to talk to around 200 participants, and it was really an enlightening and interesting project. Besides that, like our moderator also already kindly promoted, our collection of 50 good regional green growth practices from the Nordics. We focused on broad themes of circular economy, bioeconomy, blue growth, clean tech and renewable energy, and then green cities and municipalities. And here our core focus was on really to analyze the impact that different green growth projects and initiatives had for regional development. So, what does the green transition really mean for the Nordic regions and the actors at the regional level? Like said many times before during today and yesterday, it is really about the place-based policies and actions that are building on the bioresources that are located in the region. At the same time, the green transition increasingly raises the request for more flexible policies that acknowledge the regional differences and diversities. However, the good news is that the Nordic regions seem to have adopted all these green terms, bioeconomy, circular economy, pretty quickly. When we started in 2012, these concepts were not so much known and there was still quite a lot of buzz around them. However, today we see, for instance, a lot of regional smart specialization strategies which have their focus on different sectors of bioeconomy and circular economy. While the higher political level, national level and EU level, they talk a lot about policies and innovation ecosystems and things like that. For the regions, the green transition is also about very practical things. It is about jobs and euros, concrete pilots and different projects. When we studied the green growth issue in the regions and when we discussed with the practitioners, we asked them to lift the core issues that are currently on their agendas and opportunities, but also as challenges. And when we look at the current challenges, we got a pretty long list, not a very surprising list. So the regions have to try to operate within this misbehaving reality, which refers to the global world around us, global policies, global crises, but also, as was pointed out, for instance, by Charlotte just a moment ago, the very contradictory policies and different subsidies and sort of distorted system that doesn't always really allow the best outcome at the regional level. Then we have the issue of finance, funding. How do we get the SMEs on board? How do we create markets for them? How do we commercialize our projects, products and services? Competence issue is a very impeding factor in the regions. Not too many municipal leaders or regional developers were born as bioeconomy experts. So that is a big issue still. Communication and collaboration, even within one single region, the actors every now and then stated that they have really bad miscommunication. People are not aware of the possible synergies in the region when it comes to green growth issues. People are not invited to the meetings where they should be to enhance the sort of push for the transition on the region. And then when we talk about the Nordic region, we cannot really neglect the issue of sparsely populated regions. We have a lot of regions which suffer from accessibility problems, a lot of demographic challenges, brain drain, and also there is a severe challenge in creating the critical mass for making the green transition happen. However, the regions are already doing good in the Nordic countries, and we have a lot of good solutions, and regions have been smart, and they are sort of able to operate despite the fact that the frameworks are not always optimal. It is not a rocket science thing, really. It's about playing to regional local strengths and specializing smartly and strategically to make the green transition happen. This blueberry here is to remind me of a nice example I wanted to share with you. It comes from the Finnish Lapland, where the actors have worked around smart specialization lately a lot and created clusters to address this issue. And when they were sort of reconsidering their regional strengths and thinking what do we do in our region in terms of green growth, the exotic berries came up. And so this is my illustration. People sat down, okay, what do we have in the region? We have a lot of blueberries. What do we do with the blueberries at the moment? Which are, by the way, really good quality also. We picked them up, we sent them to China, where Chinese people make really nice anti-wrinkle creams and products out of them. Then they're shipped back to Europe, and then we go to the store and buy the nice anti-wrinkle cream. Then why on earth don't we actually try to do all this in the region where the blueberries originate from, and thus keep the value in the region? Also, the issue of joint advocacy. A lot of Nordic regions face similar problems, and thus it would be perhaps beneficial to join forces to do the lobbying on the Nordic level, but especially on the European level. Here you have Denmark showing the example. It's also quite lovely how excited my native Finland is. And again, green transition by economy, they require collaboration on a level that we haven't really seen before. And it is a very interdisciplinary issue, and thus public-private partnerships are a crucial issue. Clustering has proven to be a good solution in the regions. It was often pointed out by the regions that they would very much appreciate to have more facilitators and intermediaries, to have the spider in the web, who knows what is happening and can bring people together. Competence development and awareness raising, both when it comes to administrative capabilities, for instance, in terms of EU funding for the help of green transition, also renewing the educational base in the region, and also awareness raising when it comes to the public. Regional branding, also an important issue. By successful green branding of the region, it has been proven that you can actually attract quite more significantly more investments, also sometimes even inhabitants. Case of Samsø is a pretty good one. Take a look, you can find it in our 50 cases. Then finally, the Nordic Collaboration. How does it fit this picture, and what can the Nordic regions benefit from that? And what has come out from our dialogue with the regions would really much like to eco-innovate on the Nordic level. And by eco-innovative, I mean both sort of the technological innovation, but also the innovation when it comes to the bigger frameworks and also this whole society. Regions were really keen to sort of tap into the Nordic added value and go for joint projects, funding schemes. But then at the same time, if we collaborate on the Nordic level, we have to do it strategically. We don't have infinite resources, so it might be really smart, like has been indicated before here, to really prioritize what we want to work on and find the niches where the collaboration can most benefit the regions and regional actors and businesses. Also, joint funding is an issue, and for instance, I believe there would be room for the better use of integrated territorial investments and funds. Exchange of good practice is always a good idea. It's, if you're a municipality in Finland struggling with some issue, it might be very helpful and relieving to know that there's a region in northern Norway who is struggling with the same issues, and perhaps you can come together and look into these issues and also learn from each other and the regions that are sort of already there when it comes to making the green growth happen. Also, facilitators at the Nordic level are sought after. I hope we here today, and for instance, the Nordic Council of Ministers are doing our part, but more sort of systemic approach might be very useful. And then developing the Nordic green identity and having the joint advocacy for the great benefit of us all. So, to conclude shortly, I would argue that the regions can really be the engines for green transition in the Nordic region, but however, there are quite many interventions we still need to take. Leaving behind the sort of misbehaving reality and looking at what we can really do at the regional level, I've listed a few key things. We should focus more on the green entrepreneurship, business and investment in the Nordic regions, and perhaps especially look at the dynamics between urban and rural regions. I'm happy to tell you that you will shortly hear about that more. We have Professor Hans Westlund from KTH from Stockholm, who will focus on this issue right after me. Then we need more and better public-private partnerships. We have an excellent case from Region Värmland and Paper Province Cluster, who will also join us shortly. Regional branding. And then finally, last but not least, the issue of public awareness. I've been quite delighted to hear the word public awareness and having the whole society on board so many times during this forum, because I really think it is a key issue. And green transition is also about inclusiveness and sort of legitimizing these processes on the regional level and among the people who live in the region. You will also hear more on this issue. We have Research Director Karen Revskrat, who will take you deeper into this issue. Thank you. That was all from my part.
Thank you very much, Nelli. So as I said before, we take all the questions in a little while.